never thought a certified letter could feel like a slap across the face from someone I barely knew. But there it was on my porch step one sunny Tuesday morning. Thick manila envelope stamp HOA Homeowners Association, demanding I pay up or lose my house. My name Ryan Brooks, printed in bold like I was public enemy number one, even though my wife Lisa and I had bought this place precisely because it sat just outside their ridiculous little kingdom. Karen Whitaker, or as the whole block secretly called her, the HOA Karen, had decided my existence was a threat to her precious community standards. And just like that, the woman who preached about neighborly harmony at every potluck was trying to bury me in legal fees for a fence that wasn't even wide enough. I stood there staring at the papers while my coffee went stone cold. The kind of cold that matches the rage bubbling under your skin when someone who doesn't own you tries to own your life. Lisa came out wiping her hands on a dish towel, took one look at my face and whispered, "She finally did it, didn't she?" I nodded, too stunned to speak. Karen had spent months building her little file on us like some suburban Bond villain, but this was next level crazy. She wasn't just fining me anymore. She was suing me for dues I never owed on property I never joined. The lawsuit claimed my porch swing was non-compliant, my vegetable garden disrupted aesthetic continuity, and my old truck in the driveway was visual pollution. Oh, and apparently I owed 3 years of back HOA fees because in Karen's world, breathing the same air as her gated perfection made me a member whether I liked it or not. We'd moved to the edge of High Oaks Estates for the quiet. No city noise, no micromanaging neighbors telling us what color to paint our shutters. Just a modest ranch house with a yard big enough for Lisa's tomatoes and my weekend grill sessions. The neighbors waved, the kids rode bikes, life was normal. Until Karen decided normal wasn't good enough. She patrolled the streets every morning in her pastel cardigan and clipboard like a hall monitor who'd watched too many true crime documentaries. First time I saw her, she was measuring Mrs. Delgado's rose bushes with a tape measure, lips pursed so tight they could cut glass. I figured she was harmless. I figured wrong. That first real run-in happened on a Saturday when I was out front replacing a couple rotten boards on the porch. Sun shining, birds chirping, the kind of morning that makes you forget the world has Karens in it. Then I heard the click-click of sensible heels coming up my driveway like she owned the concrete. "Excuse me, Mr. Brooks," she called in that syrupy voice she saved for when she was about to ruin your day. That railing height is a clear violation of Section 4.2 of the Covenants. It must be exactly 36 inches, painted eggshell white, and inspected annually. I'm afraid I'll have to issue a notice. I set my hammer down slow, wiping sweat from my forehead so I wouldn't accidentally flip her off. "Morning, Mrs. Whitaker. Hate to break it to you, but we're not in the HOA. Never signed, never paid, never asked to join your little club." She smiled the way sharks smile right before they bite. All teeth, zero warmth. "Oh, but you benefit from our roads, our maintained common areas, our reputation for excellence. Everyone in the vicinity falls under visual jurisdiction. It's in the original charter somewhere." She tapped her clipboard like it was the Bible. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud because who talks like that outside a bad movie? "Lady, the only charter I care about is the one that says this is my house. You want to measure something? Measure how far back you need to step." Her eyes narrowed behind those oversized sunglasses, but she recovered fast, scribbling furiously. "Non-compliance noted. Fine start at $250 per day. Have a blessed day." She spun on her heel and marched off like she just won the Super Bowl. Lisa watched from the window, shaking her head. "She's not going to let this go, Ryan. That woman collects grievances like other people collect stamps." I shrugged it off then. How bad could one nosy lady be? Bad. Real bad. The notices started showing up like clockwork, taped to the mailbox, tucked under the windshield wiper, once even slid under the front door while we were at work. First it was the railing. Then the unaesthetic garden beds Lisa had built with her own hands. Then my truck was improperly stored. Never mind, it ran fine and wasn't on blocks. One gem accused us of excessive noise pollution, because I dared to mow the lawn on a Saturday before noon. Another claimed our American flag was flying 2 inches too high. I started keeping a shoebox of them just for the absurdity. Lisa would read them aloud at dinner in her best Karen voice. Dear property offender, your existence offends the aesthetic integrity of High Oaks. Please cease breathing immediately or pay the fine. We'd laugh until the fine started adding up, hundreds turning into thousands, and the tone shifted from annoying to threatening. One letter warned of lien proceedings if we didn't cough up. A lien. On our house. The place we'd poured every penny and weekend into after years of city apartments and soul-crushing commutes. Karen wasn't playing anymore. She was building a case, documenting every violation, with time-stamped photos like a private investigator who'd lost her mind. I'd catch her sometimes, parked across the street in her spotless SUV, snapping pictures of my trash cans on collection day. Once I waved. She pretended to be on the phone. Classic. The breaking point came exactly like the lawsuit, a plain white envelope heavier than it had any right to be. I opened it right there on the porch, heart already hammering, and felt the floor drop out. 48 pages of legalese naming me defendant in High Oaks HOA versus Ryan Brooks. Allegations ranged from repeated disregard for community standards to failure to remit assessed dues for 3 fiscal years. Karen's signature sat at the bottom like a royal decree. Lisa read over my shoulder, her hand tightening on my arm. She actually sued us for living here. I wanted to storm over to her perfect colonial with the matching shutters and shove those papers where the sun doesn't shine. But Lisa stopped me. She wants you to snap. Don't give her the ammo. So instead I sat at the kitchen table that night, papers spread out like a crime scene, and started reading every line. That's when I noticed the pattern. Every violation was subjective, every fine inflated, every claim rested on the assumption that I was somehow bound by rules I never agreed to. Karen wasn't enforcing covenants. She was inventing them. And she was using HOA money, everybody else's dues, to pay her fancy lawyer to do it. The first hearing was 3 weeks away. In those 3 weeks Karen got bolder. She'd cruise by slow in her SUV, smirking behind the wheel. She cornered the mailman one morning, whispering loud enough for me to hear. That Brooks fellow is dragging down property values for all of us. Neighbors who used to chat over the fence started looking away. The whispers started. He must have done something. Karen says he refuses to follow simple rules. I kept my mouth shut, kept waving, kept documenting. Because while Karen was busy building her fantasy empire, I was quietly building something better. A file of my own. Every notice, every time-stamped photo she took, every voicemail she left ranting about aesthetic terrorism. I saved them all. Court day arrived dressed in my one good suit. Lisa beside me squeezing my hand so hard I lost circulation. Karen sat front row in full HOA regalia. Pearl necklace, clipboard upgraded to a leather binder, hair sprayed into submission. Her lawyer looked like he charged by the smirk. Our guy was a young local who'd taken the case because, in his words, this is the craziest jurisdictional grab I've ever seen. The judge, an older guy who looked like he'd already heard every HOA horror story, flipped through the complaint and frowned. Counsel, I'm not seeing any evidence this property is within the HOA boundaries. Karen's lawyer tried the visual jurisdiction dance. Your Honor, the defendant benefits from our maintained roads and the prestige of the community. The judge cut him off. Prestige doesn't create legal boundaries, counselor. Show me the charter. Karen stood up then, voice dripping honey and venom. He lives among us. He enjoys the view. He should contribute like everyone else who respects the rules that keep our neighborhood beautiful. I almost laughed out loud. Beautiful? Her rules turned grown adults into grass-length police. The judge set a full trial date 6 weeks out. As we left, Karen caught my eye in the hallway and gave me that slow, cold smile. The one that said she was just getting started. She had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead. Because while she was busy suing me for existing, I'd spent those 3 weeks doing something she never expected. I'd started talking to people. Not ranting, not yelling. Just showing them the county records I'd pulled that proved my lot was never annexed. Just asking real polite if they knew their dues were funding a personal vendetta. The whispers started shifting. Mrs. Delgado from 3 doors down stopped me at the mailbox one afternoon. "I saw the papers you left at the community board meeting, Ryan. Is it true she's using our money to sue you?" I just nodded. "Every dime." She clutched her purse tighter. "That woman has been measuring my hydrangeas for years." I thought it was normal. It wasn't normal. And the more people realized it, the faster Karen's perfect little kingdom started to crack. But Karen wasn't done swinging. "Oh no." She doubled down, filing motion after motion, flooding the court with photos of my offensive tomatoes like they were evidence in a murder trial. The legal bills started stacking up faster than her violations. One night I sat at the table staring at the latest invoice and muttered, "She doesn't even have to win. She's already winning by bleeding us dry." Lisa put her hand on mine. "Then we stopped playing defense." She was right. Time to go on offense. The next Saturday we printed flyers. Nothing fancy, just black and white facts. My property address. The official county map highlighting how my lot sat outside the HOA lines in bright red. A copy of the original charter with the relevant page circled. At the bottom, one simple question. Should your dues pay for personal vendettas? We walked the neighborhood together. First few doors were awkward. People eyed us like we were selling timeshares. But once they read the flyer, faces changed. One guy actually laughed. "She told us you were a squatter." Another neighbor shook his head. "I paid $300 last month for legal protection. Turns out it was protection against my own tomatoes." Word traveled faster than Karen's clipboard. By Monday, the HOA Facebook group, usually full of passive-aggressive posts about dog poop, was blowing up. Someone posted my flyer. Comments poured in. "Is this legal? Why are we paying for this?" Karen tried to delete them, but screenshots were already everywhere. She posted a long, tearful update about protecting property values from rule breakers. But the replies weren't buying it anymore. The tide was turning, and for the first time I saw something flicker behind those oversized sunglasses when she drove past. Panic. The trial started on a gray Monday that felt heavier than the paperwork. We walked into the courthouse like we were heading into battle, and in a way we were. Karen arrived like she was attending her own coronation. Hair helmet perfect, blazer starched, binder thick enough to stop a bullet. Behind her sat half the HOA board, all wearing matching judgmental stares. Our young lawyer had spent the weekend turning my shoebox of evidence into color-coded exhibits. Every ridiculous notice, every time-stamped photo Karen had taken of my porch swing at 7:03 a.m., every voicemail she'd left screaming about visual blight. Her side open with the usual theater. This defendant has shown flagrant disregard for the standards that make High Oaks the envy of the county. Karen took the stand next, clutching her binder like a shield. "Your Honor, if we allow people to pick and choose which rules they follow, chaos ensues. My job as president is to protect every homeowner's investment, even the ones who refuse to help themselves." She dabbed at imaginary tears. I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. Protect investments? The woman had fined a widow 2 blocks over for hanging laundry on a Tuesday. Our turn came. My lawyer stood calm as ever. "Your Honor, we'd like to enter the original HOA charter into evidence." The clerk brought out the dusty binder we'd pulled from county records. Yellowed pages, faded ink, but crystal clear. My lot number was nowhere on the list. Not annexed, not referenced, not even mentioned in the footnotes. The judge adjusted his glasses, scanned the pages, and actually chuckled. A dry judicial chuckle that sounded like music. "Mrs. Whitaker, unless you can show me where Lot 47B appears in these documents, I'm struggling to see jurisdiction here." Karen's face did something beautiful then. It went from smug to sheet white in under 3 seconds. Her lawyer stammered about original intent and visual inclusion. The judge shut him down faster than a bad referee. "Intent doesn't override recorded deeds, counselor. The document is clear." For the first time since this nightmare started, I let myself exhale. Lisa squeezed my knee under the table so hard I felt it in my soul. But Karen wasn't finished. Oh, she had one last trick up her starched sleeve. 2 days later she filed a counterclaim, defamation. claimed that by showing neighbors the county records I had maliciously damaged her reputation as a community leader. The audacity was almost admirable. Almost. Our lawyer just grinned when he read it. She just handed us malicious prosecution on a silver platter. That's when I went full scorched earth polite. We upgraded the flyers, now with highlighted charter pages and a QR code linking to the public records. I called the local paper. The reporter showed up at my door skeptical until I handed him the stack. 2 days later the headline ran, HOA president sues non-member neighbor with community funds. Residents demand answers. Karen's phone started ringing off the hook. Not the supportive kind either. Board members who used to nod along at her every decree were suddenly asking for receipts. One even quit on the spot after seeing how much of the landscaping budget had gone to her legal war chest. The HOA emergency meeting that week was legendary. Lisa snuck in the back just to watch. Karen tried to open with her usual, "We must stand united" speech, but someone interrupted. "Why are we paying for your personal grudge match?" Another voice. "My dues went to suing a guy for tomatoes?" Karen's face turned the color of a bad sunburn. She tried the tears again. "I was only trying to protect us all." But the room had gone ice cold. By the end of the night 3 board members had called for a no-confidence vote. She stormed out before they could finish the motion, heels stabbing the floor like she was trying to kill it. That should have been the end. But cornered Karens don't retreat quietly. They escalate. The voicemail started at 2 a.m. Long venomous rants about how I was destroying everything she built. Then came the car parked at the end of our driveway at midnight, headlights blazing straight into our bedroom window. Lisa woke up shaking. I called the sheriff that time. The deputy showed up, took one look at the situation, and issued Karen a formal harassment warning on the spot. The look on her face when he handed her the paper, pure delicious fear mixed with disbelief, was worth every sleepless night. But she still had one bullet left. A week later another letter arrived, unsigned this time, but the handwriting was unmistakable. It mentioned our daughter's school bus route, her after-school activities, the exact time she got home. That crossed every line. I drove straight to the station with the letter in a plastic bag. The detective read it once, looked at me and said, "We've been waiting for something like this." 2 days later they showed up at Karen's door with a search warrant. Turns out her community protection hobby had crossed into stalking territory months ago. Neighbors started coming forward. People she'd pressured, threatened with fines, even followed home. The Queen was finally running out of subjects. The final hearing felt different. The courtroom was packed, but not with Karen's fan club. Former board members sat on our side now. Reporters lined the back row. Karen showed up looking smaller. Hair not quite as helmet perfect, blazer slightly wrinkled, that clipboard nowhere in sight. When the judge read the ruling, case dismissed for lack of jurisdiction, counterclaim denied, and a permanent restraining order issued against her, you could hear a pin drop. Then the gavel came down and the room actually applauded. Not polite golf claps either. Real honest cheering. Karen stood there frozen while the judge stripped her of the presidency effective immediately and ordered repayment of misused HOA funds. Her lawyer tried one last desperate objection and got shut down so fast it was almost merciful. As they let her out, not in handcuffs yet but close, she turned and locked eyes with me. No more smirk. Just raw, naked fear and something darker. The realization that her little empire of clipboards and color-coded rules had finally crumbled under the weight of its own nonsense. We walked out into the sunlight holding hands, Lisa and I, breathing air that suddenly tasted free again. The house felt lighter when we got home. No more glancing out the window for that familiar SUV. No more waking up to anonymous letters. Lisa even planted extra tomatoes that weekend just because she could. Neighbors started waving again, real waves, not the awkward half-nods they'd been giving for months. One guy actually brought over a six-pack and apologized for believing the rumors. She was so convincing. Yeah, bullies usually are. But the best part? The day the new HOA board president, a retired accountant who actually read the charter, sent out a community email apologizing for the misuse of funds, and announcing a full audit. Karen's name wasn't mentioned, but everyone knew. She still lives in the neighborhood, of course. Can't exactly evict the former queen. But the clipboard is gone. The patrols stopped. And every time she sees me at the mailbox, she crosses the street like I'm contagious. Looking back, the whole mess taught me something the rulebooks never mention. The loudest voices enforcing community standards are often the ones terrified of losing control. Karen didn't care about my porch swing or my tomatoes. She cared about the power. The ability to make grown adults measure their grass with a ruler and thank her for it. And when that power got threatened by one guy who simply said, "No," she lost her mind trying to crush him. So here's the question I leave you with, the one that still keeps me up some nights. Was Karen really just a dedicated homeowner doing her job protecting property values? Or was she the real criminal all along, hiding behind bylaws while breaking every law of basic human decency? Who was truly in the wrong here? The guy who refused to bow to rules he never agreed to, or the woman who weaponized an entire neighborhood to punish him for it? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. Because the next time an HOA Karen comes for you, you'll know exactly what to do.